which strengtheneth me. Now we're studying it, and we could memorize it, and you could leave here today and you could be quoting it everywhere. You could quote it on the subway, quote it to people on the street. You could talk to your children about it when you get home. But study just exposes us to truth. But it's the practical experience of it that brings us to the place where the real power of that truth is known. Now there's a great difference sometimes between the person who says, I know the Scripture, and the person who's, like Paul says, I have learned. There's a huge difference. Now you think about it for a moment. In Mark chapter 4, the disciples had been on one side of a lake, and they were with Jesus doing ministry, and then suddenly he turns to them and says, let's go to the other side. Now at that point, they say they know they're going to the other side. They have the word right from the mouth of Jesus, let's go to the other side. Jesus didn't say, I hope we make it. He said, let's go. It was a definitive statement. So they could have at that point turned to the crowd and say, folks, we're going to the other side. Jesus just said we're going to the other side, and I know this is true. And so they got in the boat and they began to row the boat, and the Scripture, of course, tells us that they came into a fierce storm. So fierce that they feared for their survival. Jesus appeared to be asleep in the back of the boat, and they woke him up and they said, Master, don't you care that we perish? And he said, why are you so fearful? Where's your faith? And the Scripture tells us he got up and he rebuked the wind and rebuked the sea. And I think it went from a virtual mini hurricane to just a mirror. And the Scripture says they were stunned and astonished, and they said, what kind of a man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Now, they got to the other side of this journey. Now, can you imagine how they had the same message, but how different it would be? After facing the storm, their own fears, their own mortality, and experiencing the incredible power of God. Now you can imagine being on the other side. The boat pulls up, the nose of it hits the shore, and 12 guys get out. Their hands are rubbed raw from holding those oars and trying to make it through the storm in their own strength. They look so bedraggled. They've been up all night. Their eyes are bloodshot. They've got seaweed in their hair. Their composure is completely gone. Their clothes are soaking wet. And they step out of the boat. And on the beginning of the journey, it was, I know. But at the end of the journey, what was it? I have learned. When Jesus says you're going to make it to the other side, you're going to make it to the other side.